Everybody, and happy Sacred Sunday to you. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and we're going to have an amazing guest today. We're going to put the primary focus on Carolyn Corey. She is all about being superhuman. She herself is quite superhuman, as you're about to find out. And she also made a film about it, a remarkable movie. So we're going to meet Carolyn. We're going to learn about her movie, and we're going to learn about how any of us can enhance our skills, enhance our sensibilities. We had her on Saturday Night Live, and I was like so blown away. It's like, okay, 10 minutes on Saturday Night Live is not enough time with this woman. So she has agreed to come and be on the show. So you're going to meet her in just a moment. But as most of you who watch the show know, I always like to start us with a meditation, just to kind of drop in. And the majority of people who watch the show, I've discovered, actually watch the video replay. So whenever you're tuning in, whenever you're watching this is still a good time to slow down. And unless you're operating a motor vehicle, to close your eyes. And let's just drop in for a few moments, all right? Especially so that we can really calm down and drop into our bodies and learn how to be superhuman. I'm excited. All right, so of course, we always want to just start with the breath. Breathing at your own natural pace, but with consciousness. So it's good to exhale in a way where you're literally feeling it leaving your body. And on the inhale, imagining that you're just bringing in fresh prana. And on the exhale, we release any thoughts, anything that no longer serves us. We let it go. And on the inhale, breathing in new life, new energy, new prana. And just allow my voice to gently guide you as you maintain conscious breathing. And hopefully with your eyes closed and not distracted by anything. This is a time to tune into our bodies. Our bodies inform us. And it's so important, especially with so many external distractions, to tune in and listen to what our body has to say. How well resourced are you? Have you had enough food, water, rest? To what degree are you relaxed? And to what degree is there anxiety, nervousness, agitation? Now, those things are not bad. They can be very uncomfortable. But we want to acknowledge whatever is going on inside of our body temple. There are no bad feelings, but there are uncomfortable feelings. And when we can acknowledge them, they're actually more likely to dissipate. And if you're having comfortable feelings, that's awesome. We celebrate that. And how's your heart? Are you receiving enough appreciation, acknowledgement, nurturing? If you are, we celebrate that. And if you're not, we take a moment to mourn, to acknowledge those precious unmet values. And finally, what's an intention you can set for yourself right now? It could be an intention to learn from Carolyn, drop into our time together, or it could be an intention for later in the day. let's all make a positive intention, something in alignment with the longing of our precious heart. And we can open our eyes, come back in together. I welcome all the people in our Zoom room. Welcome all of you on Facebook. And most of all, I'm really eager to welcome Carolyn Corey. There she is. Hi, Carolyn.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good. Hey, your audio is a little low.
Okay. This should normally it works.
That's better. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's great. Perfect now.
Okay.
Carolyn, my intention is to just receive your medicine as best as I can, your wisdom. I'm just going to, I actually want to share this out on a few people. So I'm going to put the full spotlight on you.
Okay.
And I want to just invite you to tell us a little bit about what does it mean to become superhuman? What's that all about?
Yeah. So, for me, my journey started when I was very young. I was 5 years old, and I had this experience where I could see beings and communicate with them. They just showed up. And I realized that we were connected energetically. It's almost like I was on this side of the veil in physical form, and they were on, kind of my lineage on the other side of the veil. And that stream of consciousness is never severed. And that line of communication happens all the time. And so because of that experience, I realized that I was actually tapping into subtle energy. I could see their consciousness and merge with their consciousness spontaneously. And because of that, I could understand the telepathic messages. I could see things that was happening for people. I would look at someone and knew exactly what was going on for them, what was going to happen the next day, what was on the other side of the wall. I mean, things like that. And so, of course, I was very young. I didn't think it was anything special. I thought, oh, all kids do that. What's the big deal? So I never talked about it. And because of that, it kind of allowed me to keep it in. And as opposed to, if I think people say, well, did you tell your parents? Did you tell? I didn't, because like I said, I thought it was normal. And it's a good thing, because I think they would have said, stop imagining things, stop doing that, And so because of this, I kind of question, how is this possible? If everybody's doing this, then how does it work? What does the brain need to do to tap into information you didn't know about beforehand? And can anybody do this? And so that, of course, got me on a 20-year journey of trying to understand the mechanics of consciousness. How does it all work? And of course, I realized that not everybody was doing this. Not everybody was looking on the other side of the wall and could see what was there, or could see inside their lungs or their heart, and know what to take out, what to put in, whatever. So then but for me, it was validation after validation after validation, to the point where I had no question in my mind that whatever I was doing, however I was doing it, was real. This is real. And because it started spontaneously for me, I knew that it's kind of our birthright. I was like, everybody can do this. Why aren't we doing this?
Yeah.
And so I started, even though I was having validation working with so many people, and many people were healing things and clearing things and seeing things, and validation after validation, we were all convinced, but I wanted to kind of take it to the next level. And so I started to work with scientists. About 5 years ago, I said, okay, we're not crazy. This is real. Here's the x-ray, the before and after. Here's the blood test, the before and after. We're seeing things before they happen. Can we quantify? Can
Mhm.
we show this to the world in a more, like acceptable way, if you will? And so I started working with scientists, doing all sorts of experiments. I worked with a scientist to on the pH of water, changing the pH of water. And for those who understand how science works, and for those who don't, when we do a scientific um, experiment, on consciousness, how consciousness taps into or interacts with the physical world, we create a baseline. It's like the control. And so we take measurement over and over for a long period of time. And then we try to interact with it at a specific time. And then we see if those measurements change. And not only they were changing, but they were drastically changing. I mean, Scott, we're talking 100%, 400%. The thing would just like jump. And not only that, it was repeatable. We would do it over and over. So now this becomes a scientific validation. So I started doing that with with pH, with DNA, affecting objects, affecting machines. And the results were astounding. And I said, why doesn't the world know about this? And everybody is capable of doing this. And that's how the idea of Superhuman, my film, came about. It's called Superhuman, the invisible made visible, which is basically the interaction of, of your consciousness with the physical world with measurable, quantifiable results, things you can literally see what your mind is doing.
Wow. I am so impressed with anybody who makes a film. My background was as a writer, director, producer of television. And I only made one movie in my life. And it took 3 years of my life. And I loved it. I'm proud of it. But it was like, okay, you know what? I can't do it. And not only has she made the movie Superhuman, but look at this. She's made 4 movies. And they all are topics that I love. E.T. Contact, they're here. I'm the universe, I am love. I can't imagine a more important message. There it is. That's like the message of, of our highest awareness. Among Us, all about the phenomenon of non-human presence on our planet. And then, of course, the movie that I'm assuming is your most recent, the one she was just talking about, Superhuman, the invisible made visible. So I just want to acknowledge all of these movies that you've made, and they're all available for people to see. Now, can they actually download them from Omnium Media, or how do people see your movies?
So Among Us is downloadable from our website, but not Superhuman because they're going through distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the best way is for people to watch them on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
If they don't have Amazon Prime, most people do, I think. But if they don't, they can go to superhumanfilm.com and see all the different platforms where they can watch it, iTunes or what have you. So that's kind of how they can view. Right now, the ones they can see is Superhuman, The Invisible Made Visible, and Among Us. The others are downloadable on our website.
Good to know. So as you go through this journey of life, being so aware of all these different dimensions, all the different realities, do you get, and this is kind of more of a personal, how your experience of life is question, do you get frustrated with all of us mere mortals, us mere muggles, or do you have an ever increasing experience of compassion for what it's like being a muggle, right? Or do you experience both? Do you kind of go back and forth between being irritated and being compassionate?
Yeah, it's like what you're saying. It's a little bit of both. I mean, when I teach people and they start to do things on their own, I am so excited because the idea is not for me to be the only one. That's not the point. I mean, uh, and or to have people always go through me to get the questions answered
Yeah.
or to be empowered. I mean, my work is about empowering others to find their direct connection to the source and bring that empowered state of consciousness that pleases me. I mean, I'm like so excited, especially when we train people, for a long time, they stay with me, we do all sorts of, and so, but sometimes I have to say, I look around, I'm like, oh my God, we've done this, 100 times. Why are we still asking this question? Why are you still stuck there? I think the human mind is so programmed, individually and collectively, that even as much work as you do, like you have those moments, where you go back to that pattern. But I see that sometimes, you go back to the pattern of being stuck. But every time you go back, it's a little bit less, it's a little bit less, it's a little bit less until eventually you have that power in you and you just take off.
I'm loving this conversation, and it's interesting because I just recently did a series of UFO ET contact related shows with Mark Sims and Adam Apollo, and we had Whitley Strieber and Linda Moulton Howe, and a lot of the people that are in that field, Elizabeth April, who's been on my shows many times. And an interesting point came up. I personally have, having been in this field a pretty long time, I often encourage people to always enjoy the experience that they've had and to not make a religion out of it,
Yeah.
to not, to not try and, but just it's an experience. Um, and most of the people I work with, kind of have that, agreement, but then there's some people that are so wanting to understand the phenomena that, and I think it's what you were saying, the human mind, we are creatures of pattern, creatures of habit. And when something is outside of our box, it's human nature to want to understand it by finding a belief system. I mean, certainly what has been happening with QAnon and a lot of more extremist ways of looking at the world are examples of that, which I have compassion for people that want to understand. So that's a long-winded way of asking you, as you're working with people and they're experiencing phenomena, how do you manage that piece of it, that part of the human mind that wants to understand things by putting it into a belief system?
I mean, it depends, case by case, really, because sometimes if it's somebody that is stuck on a pattern, and then I can see why they're stuck. Are they stuck because it's fear of, from, of breaking free once and for all? Then I can help them. I can point to the fact that this is, free will, and you're just stuck exactly at this point of, because once you free yourself, it's the point of no return.
Mm.
People say, oh, I want to see subtle energy like you. I want to see beings. So then when we do the training, I can say, I can see, because I can see their minds and I can see where they're stuck. That's what my training is. That's what I did my whole life. So even though they say, I want to do this, I want to have this ability, their subconscious mind is saying, I'm not ready, this is too much, I can never be superhuman, all those patterns. So and then the thing is, somewhere that once you see, you cannot unsee. And so there are beautiful things that you want to see, but unfortunately I started to see things I didn't even think were possible. at the time. They were so dark and so ugly. And so I was in shock. I was like, wait, did I just make this up? Is this possible that an intelligent being could do certain things? And I'm talking about in the history of the collective consciousness. I would tap into information as I was doing my work. And you know, you when you see the beings, you don't just see angels and the nice ETs, you see all of them. And when you see all of them, you know, some of them have a different story, a different agenda, a different agreement than you. And so that's what I'm saying. Going back to your question, when people are stuck, how do I deal with it? If it's this is a legitimate fear in a way that you know deep inside you, once you break free, you're going to take responsibility to truth, not selective truth, all of the truth. You know, you're going to see it all, you're going to hear it all, and handle it. You're going to have to handle it. And once you do that, once you live at that level of awareness, you can't go back into the box. You just can't. And so it's a major turning point. And that translates into, on a 3D level, relationships break up, family members break up, maybe your job is no longer serving you. So they know that, you know that. Once you realize, because at that level, you want to align your higher consciousness with your 3D life. You can't fake it. You can't be spiritual on the weekend and Monday through Friday, you know, have a job that you hate, be in a relationship that's dysfunctional, be in this totally misaligned way, and still achieve this ultimate level of mastery, you see. And so that's the reason why people are stuck in the pattern. So if it's just a fear and they just need a little nudge, and, you know, so I help them get through. But a lot of people get really stuck there and become stubborn. It becomes a control issue, you know, like, I want to do it the way I want to, you know, an ego issue. So sometimes, you know, I can't even get through because it's such a hard place to be, and I have to just allow it. That was a long answer, but I hope this was.
No, it's a very valuable answer, you know, and I probably have a dozen questions that have come into my mind and thoughts to share because this is such a rich topic. You know, I want to say that
It's rich because that's what we're here to do. I mean, we're here to be who we really are, awaken to our whole potential, but not intellectually. I mean, experientially, meaning living that truth in all areas of our life. Like I said, we can't be saying, I meditate and I do yoga, but the rest of my life is totally misaligned with who I am. It just doesn't work this way.
So I'm going to pull back and take a look at the big picture from your perspective. Obviously, this planet has so many things going on. And as you mentioned, there's not just angels, but there are other entities. Maybe you could call them ghosts that are stuck in pain or whatever it may be. But there's a shadow side. You know, we live on a planet that at all times, part of the planet is in light and part of the planet is in shadow. And we are children of that planet. You know, we all have a light side, we all have a shadow side. As you were just saying that we're here to really fully embrace our full potential, do you perceive that we are going to have a mass awakening and kind of this planet, this dimension will become kind of a heaven on earth experience? Or do you believe that it's more that there are, of course, multiple dimensions and we kind of shift into the dimension that matches our vibration?
Yeah,
that's a question, but
yeah, I think it's the latter. But so because there are beings making different choices, we're not the only ones. And so to say that the entire planet, every single person is going to make the exact same choice doesn't even make sense, you know. So that's another thing. Like I said, once you tap into truth, capital T, you know, you see it all, and not different people want different things, and we have to allow that. This is free will. And so I feel like there are different dimensions within the earth plane, and certain dimensions are moving faster than others. And you get to kind of, through your own free will, through your own spiritual awakening, kind of direct yourself, you know, through this path or this path or that path. And ultimately, I feel like, if that was your question also, I feel like the people who are interested in, I call it perfect realignment back with source, meaning the planet itself cosmically realigns differently. The human consciousness realigns differently. There is no more a subconscious mind anymore. You are functioning at a much higher level of awareness. And everything in your reality matches that alignment. So you are in pure truth, pure discernment, and freedom, and of course, love. And so, but I feel like in a linear time, it's not a mass, meaning everybody. It's like maybe groups of people here and there. And that awakening takes another about 250 years.
Wow.
For the entire consciousness and all the levels and layers of consciousness. The planet cosmically, but there's also its chemistry, its breathing, its magnetic, its electrical vibration, you know, the animal kingdom, plant life that supports the health and the life of a planet. So all of these are different aspects of a reality. Then you have intelligent beings, which is us, supposed to be intelligent. You know, and so then the intelligent life that is occupying, that is inhabiting that planet, you know, then you have different levels of awareness, and you have society, you have economy, you have politics, you know what I mean? So there's different, it's not like this one thing. And because of that, everything kind of moves in this kind of multidimensional unfolding. And that's why it's not one thing. That's why it eventually takes 250 years. I write about all this in my book called The Divine Plan, Now and Beyond 2250. And so it's kind of like, it talks about those, not just the different layers of unfolding, but also the different beings that are doing different things to assist those different layers of reality.
And I'm actually on your website right now. Is there a place? And I'm looking at your library. Oh my gosh, look at all these things you've got going on here. It's incredible. Newsletters, and even people can get it in Dutch. I love it.
And French.
Yeah, that's incredible. Here we go. Books and CDs. All right. So I'm going to pull your website up for a moment. She just brought up your books.
So this website is for consciousness studies and energy medicine. This is Omnium Universe, or CarolineCorey.com. It takes you to the same thing. So this is that first book under products. That first book is the one I was talking about.
The Divine Plan, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm so appreciating all your dedication to life, and yes, God among us. You're so dedicated to raising consciousness. How, again, I always like to find out how it is for someone personally. Like, obviously, professionally, you're doing just an incredible job. How is it for the animal body? How is it for the, you know, that most human animal part of you? Are you enjoying this life? Does it feel like it's a lot of dharma? How is it for you on a personal level?
Again, it's a little bit like your previous question. It's a little bit like ups and downs where it feels amazing because I am in a line. My work is what I want to do. My body, I treat it the way, is in alignment. So it's not Monday through Friday, one thing, and Saturday, it's like every single day and throughout the day, I'm always asking, eat from the simplest conversation. Do I go meet this person? Is that aligned with the divine plan, with who I am? Do I, should I start this new project? Is that aligned? So everything that I do, if what I'm going to eat today for lunch, is that aligned? So when you do that, it feels very conscious and very, very supported. So in general, I feel amazing, and I feel so blessed. Also, I have so many people who have been helped by this work, and I feel more of a community now coming together. There's so many people around the world who get it, whereas like 10 years ago, I was like, hello, is anybody out there? So that part feels amazing. But I have to say, we're still part of a collective, and I'm very sensitive to the collective. So I have days where I feel the collective going through stuff. Sometimes it could be just an earthquake on the other side of the Pacific or something. And I have stuff happen in my body, and it affects me, and I feel horrible. And it's a harder time to shift to a better place. So I have to kind of like make a bit of an effort. And it comes with the feelings of, how sad, it is. So it's a sense of what the gap is so huge still with where I'd like to be with humanity and where it is really. So, and that gap feels very heavy on my heart and sad sometimes. So these are days that, happen. Yeah. So it's, I feel like, it's very sad. I'm very sad, like for sure, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for being willing to just share that. And there's something that, well, everything you say is so interesting to me. But I want to just invite everybody to really drop into the awareness of something she said, that before any choice that she makes, she tunes in. Is this an alignment? That is a practice we can all do. Now, obviously, it requires a lot of discipline. And like any practice, at first, we're going to forget to do it about 1,000 times. But the more we practice it, the more it does become part of our nature, part of our patterning of life. And it's a really powerful practice that anyone can commit to. And you can do it in your own way. For me, my mantra is, I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And if I'm noticing I'm a little stuck, or I'm a little in my ego, or a little bit too into something else, I'll drop into my will and thy will are one. Always thy will be done. My will and thy will are one. Always thy will be done. And that just helps me bring my ego and personality into alignment with my higher self. Now, that's my own personal way of doing what I was hearing you describing. But I really want to encourage everybody, and whether you want to attach it to a religious belief or a spiritual belief, or just feeling like you're in alignment with life. I was working with a client recently who has a remarkable life, and he happens to be an atheist. And it was interesting to me because most of my friends, most of my colleagues have a spiritual practice and a belief in life after death and, all of that. And he doesn't. And yet he has this remarkable life. And I said, so, how do you do that? And he just feels in alignment with life itself. So, there are an infinite number of ways for us to imagine God, life, existence, whatever you want to call it. But to really make that commitment to practice being in alignment with as many things that you do during the day as you possibly can. So I took what I heard you say and kind of wanted to riff on it because it's so important. And anything you want to add about your practice or how you encourage people to do that practice?
Yeah, I think this is so important. Like you're saying, in the beginning, they would forget or not pay attention. But eventually, like you were saying, the more you do it, the more, like, to me, it's a habit that from the smallest little thing. But I do want to say that a lot of people would say, well, I can't tell if it's aligned or not, what salad I should have today, what my body wants, or if I should take on this job or meet this person even for coffee or whatever, because we don't have that level of discernment. And so the way I suggest, again, we don't have that clarity, we don't have that training. Nobody teaches us this as kids, to be able to tune into our higher self. There is no higher self as a kid. They don't, so as we grow up, we discover all of this, and now we're trying to figure out how to use it. And so another idea that I have is for people to, until they get into the habit and master this practice, what you can do is imagine that your heart is a separate person. So your mind is you and your heart is a different person. And when you ask the question, you ask your heart to feel, to tell you the answer through feeling. But if you separate the two, like you distinctly kind of separate the two, it's almost like you're talking to a different person. It helps a little bit in getting yourself out of it. And then you'd be surprised. The heart would respond like, for example, constriction, like not the right time, not the right thing. Or it would feel very relaxed and very, very open. And this is how you know that this is an alignment or it's not an alignment. So again, this is a fuzzy line for a while, but eventually you kind of, this, of course, it's temporary. It's just an exercise, allows you to get out of your own way and feel the truth of what is aligned and what isn't.
Your timing is so fascinating talking about the heart because last night on Saturday Night Live, one of our speakers was Greg Braden, and he led us all on a practice of tuning into our heart and talking to our heart. So it's so cool the next morning hearing you sharing that as well. And people had really lovely experiences, and it is a beautiful practice. So thank you.
Yeah. But there's a bit of a difference with speaking to your heart and feeling your heart and doing this for the purpose of discernment, of
Yes.
guidance, so.
Yes. So you just said one of my favorite words, discernment.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have checked and I have not received an email from you with those links.
Oh,
So I'll check for a minute, maybe go take a look and see, maybe you didn't hit send but they haven't made their way into my box, and I've checked all my different boxes. So
it was an invitation to download a bunch of things, but otherwise we can maybe play it from YouTube.
yeah, we could do that if needed. It doesn't always play quite as well. So I'm imagining if you sent it like as a WeTransfer or something like that, but I haven't received anything from you.
Yeah, it was a Google link. It wasn't a WeTransfer.
But it would still come from your email address.
From my Gmail.
From your Gmail, yeah. But I haven't gotten any notifications.
So what
So
would you like to do?
so maybe take a look and see again, because we can do it off YouTube's if need be, but it sometimes doesn't play quite as well. So it's best if I embed it into my computer.
Okay, let me
So
see.
I'll put the spotlight on myself for a moment. And I want to talk about that wonderful word she said, discernment. I'm a big fan of Paramahansa Yogananda. And although he passed away before I was born, his books and his audios have been meaningful to me. And in one of his audios that I was listening to, he was talking about how anybody that's in a human body has lessons to learn. Even enlightened masters have lessons, have karma. And so someone asked him, well, what's your lesson? What's your karma? And he said, discernment. And he said that discernment is actually usually the last lesson for a masterful soul. And probably Carolyn can relate to this. Yogananda talked about how, because like Carolyn, he could look at people and he could see their energy field, their karma. And he was such a compassionate human being, such a compassionate soul. He wanted to help everybody. And he sometimes would want to help just by taking on their karma or wanting to jump in and fix it and make it all better. And his guru, Sri Yukteswar, was very strong disciplinarian and said, no, 95% of the time, even though you can see what a person needs, just pray maximum grace for John, maximum grace for Nancy, maximum grace. Don't even pray, may the cancer be healed, because maybe that's not what is in alignment with the higher picture. So learning discernment and learning to just really provide maximum grace and pray for someone 95% of the time. 5% of the time, it's appropriate to get involved. And that's where the practice that Carolyn was talking about, of really learning to listen to our heart, to listen to our body temple. What is it telling me? So that I can be discerning about what I put into my body, who I spend time with, how I use my precious energy, how I use my precious body temple. One last thing I'll say about discernment is it's the alternative to judgment. People often say, well, now wait a minute, how can I make choices? Of course there's got to be right and wrong and good and bad. I've got to make choices. Well, we can make choices without making it good or bad, right or wrong. It's discernment. That's not for me at this time. Right? So I invite you to come to my class. Judgment is, that stuff doesn't work. That's bullshit. That's judgment. Discernment is, thank you, Scott, it's not for me. Right? So we can be discerning without needing to judge, without needing to make it right or wrong, good or bad. So this has been me covering with some important stuff, hopefully, while hopefully Carolyn had a chance to send the email. Hi, Carolyn.
Yeah, so it's sending, I'm resending it through WeTransfer, and it says, 3 minutes. So.
Right. Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to hear what I was saying, but.
Yeah, I did. I was listening. Yeah, I love.
How's that land for you?
Yeah, of course. That was one of my biggest struggles when I was starting out. So what happened was, when I was younger, like I said, I would do certain things, or I would see some things in someone was struggling with something, and I would see like, oh, they need to see a doctor because they have cancer starting or something, things like that. And then I would be like, wait, what if I made this up? Like, what if it's not true, And so I was very nervous to say anything in the beginning because I didn't know how to discern at the time. I wanted to make sure I was discerning what I was seeing and perceiving because of the responsibility that I felt. And so because of that, I spent a long time. Part of the methodologies that I created for energy medicine or in the consciousness exploration, as you expand your consciousness, in all the classes, and especially in the healing, we start, and the guidance system, how to receive guidance. I have specific classes only on discernment.
Wow.
Because if you don't even have that base, then how do you know what you're downloading is what you're downloading? How do you know where it's really coming from? How do you know that what you saw is wrong is not part of your projection? You know, especially if you know someone, or, you know, especially working on yourself, because you know, you have your own emotions, you know. So on my website, the one that you pulled up, if you go to online classes, you'll have a whole series just on guidance, and to get you to that discernment, because there's different ways people receive guidance. Some people feel, some people see, very few people hear, because it's very difficult to hear, even though you hear some words here and there. But just to be clairaudient is usually harder, because, you know, it's a lot of people kind of become schizophrenic because you don't know how to handle, you don't know where this information is coming from. So most people feel, are sensitive first, then some people see. And so the idea is, how do you it's one thing to receive the information, but then how do you interpret it, and then relay it to the person you're talking to, so you are 100% out of the picture. It's not your projector, it's not your idea, it's not what you studied, it's not what somebody else told you, it's not what you've seen in other patients or clients or what have you. You're in the moment every single time with a very unique individual, and every single time, you know, you have to start from scratch completely with a clean slate.
So valuable what you're saying, so important. And by the way, I did just go to her page, and it's remarkable how many things she's got.
Go to online classes, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, no, that's what I did. So I'll pull it up and show it to everybody. It's remarkable how many online classes you've got available for people here.
well,
So
I started doing this of like 15 years ago. And so the first one, there you go, is mastering your guidance system. So how to master everything that you're receiving and discern. And then the healers program, again, it's a methodology that I've developed. It's not just feeling, it's quite sophisticated in the sense that there's many different tools at the same time. Like if I'm working on you, I'm working, of course, there's always intention, but I can use light, I can use sound, I can use geometry, I can use gravity pull, I can use, you know, time suspension. There's like different techniques within this one big technique. And then, you know, it goes on to the, you know, other types of classes, with the superhuman things, you know, where we move object telekinesis and bend spoons and stuff like that. And see with the blindfolds, as you saw in the movie.
right. Just so impressed with all that you have done and all that you're providing to the world. Now, question, do you have much of a personal life? Do you have a husband, children? Do you do family in this lifetime?
Well, I was married for a long time, about 10 years, but I've divorced since then. And right now I'm single. And the same thing, just like all aspects of my life, you know, I only enter in relationships that are aligned, you know, otherwise it just doesn't work. Like, why even bother? And what is aligned is, you know, energetically, you can tell, you know, you can just feel a certain alignment. And so I was okay for a while, kind of being on my own, but I feel like, you know, now I could do another relationship probably, you know, so we'll see. So now that I'm more focused in that direction, we'll see what happens. But I don't have kids by choice. I felt that I wasn't here for that, even though I loved kids and I work with kids. But I felt personally, I didn't feel the need or the desire to like have my own, you know. So that never happened, and I don't think it will. But I love animals, so you know, they're kind of my kids.
Yeah, you know, I can really relate. My wife passed away 9 years ago, And I did have two significant relationships after that. But I've been single for the last year and a half. And this is actually the longest I've been single since I became an adult. And it's interesting because I'm so focused, like yourself, I'm so focused on my work right now. I'm doing 8 shows a week, 3 of which that I host. And a lot of clients, because so many people, I'm a coach, and a lot of people are really struggling in their relationships right now. So it's interesting being single. There's that part of me that I really miss that connection. I miss that person to, hey, how's your day going? Or, hey, this amazing thing happened. Hey, I had this remarkable woman on my show today. I miss that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I haven't felt drawn to dating. Now, part of it is we're in a pandemic, so it's kind of a strange time to even, there's that. But it's interesting being older, being single, and there's that word again. I'm in such discernment. It's like, I'm not available to spend time on a relationship that's not really in alignment with my work, that's not in alignment with what my life is about now. And like yourself, I don't know if you have dogs or cats. I have 2 small dogs, so they're my cuddle buddies, and they're who I play with, and they're my family. And so it's a similar thing. It's like, yeah, I'd like to be in a relationship, but I'm not willing for it to be anything less than like really high alignment.
Exactly.
And that certain ease. Now, I know that in any relationship, stuff's going to come up, but there is a certain flow that you can feel in anything we do in life, whether it's personal relationship, friendship, work. You can tell when you're in the flow versus when you're swimming upstream.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, at one point you're like, it's not even worth it because it's not going to work. It's just, it won't work if you're basing it on a need to not be alone or fear of not being alone or what have you. But it's not just alignment with your work, with my work. It's with who you are, because my work, like I was saying, is an extension of who I am. Everything that I do, all the projects that I do, everything is just an expression of what I want, who I am in alignment with source. And so otherwise I won't do it. I just, it's not worth it. And so same thing with the relationship. It kind of has to be part of that flow, so, and what it is, and what it happens, it's magnificent because then both people are on the same, in this energetic alignment, which is the base of a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to put it out there and it comes however it comes, Scott.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So the video, right?
Yeah, I got the video, and it's interesting. I get retransfers all the time. And I'm having a little trouble finding. I'm click. Here we go. I got it. Live it now. No, that was Greg Braden's folder from last night.
I just sent it, and it said that you received it.
Yeah, no, I got it, and I've opened it up, and I've gotten the WeTransfer, and
called Caroline Corey episode 1 trailer.
Right, got it. Here we go. It's downloading now. We'll have it in just a moment. So another question for you, and then we'll go to that. And we're going to go a little bit longer than 11 o'clock. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Because I still want to learn a lot more about how people can learn from you. I know you've got an event coming up on February 27th that we're going to talk about. I want to show the trailers. So you're really actually somebody that we should just like do a whole day. We're doing a day long with Andrew Harvey, who's one of my favorite teachers. So question, I guess we'll go there. So if somebody wants to work with you, like, is it online classes only? Do you do one-on-ones? What are the ways that you can support people to become superhuman?
So I used to do one-on-one. I think the video is not switching to when the person's speaker view or something. But So I used to do one-on-one, and I'd still do them occasionally just because my schedule is so busy. And so what happens is, especially now, for example, I just started pre-production on my next film. And so my schedule becomes very, I'm still promoting my previous film, Superhuman. So it's quite a lot, but I just finished 2 months of private sessions, so I go through periods. So as of today, I'm not doing one-on-one unless it's a very, very, very unique situation. Somebody needs something urgently, or, it's a real serious crisis. But otherwise, that's the reason why I have all these classes. So we did those classes online, and now people can purchase them and download them, and they watch the video and they learn at their own pace. So there are classes, I mean, you saw those classes for guidance and stuff, but there's also classes to be able to see completely blindfolded, like you'll see in the movie. Like I said earlier, telekinesis, different types of meditation techniques that are specific for focus and concentration, and focusing your intention for, again, changing the pH in water, or telekinesis and things like that. These are the Superhuman online classes that are part of that list. And it's very easy because you see video like the PowerPoint, and you see me explain, and there are exercises. So you get to not just learn on your own, but practice. And then you're part of a forum, and you share things and questions. And then I hop on the forum that way as well. So this is how people can learn right now.
That's beautiful. I'm going to go to your website one more time, and then we're going to play your video. I've got a video to show, but again, look at all these online classes that she has. And again, you can go there by going to carolinecorey.com or Omnium Universe, OMNIUM universe.com.
But they can also just go Caroline Corey, will take you there. CORY.
Yeah, that's how I did it. I went Caroline Corey. And look at all these things: mastering the human mind, and then, of course, how to become a practitioner. And this is when you go to her classes. But she's got healing sessions, her library, her products. It's really, you have so much going on. A lot of wonderful videos as well. So very impressive. All right, tell us about this trailer we're about to see.
So we started talking about the film Superhuman, the invisible made visible. And it's basically a collection of a series of on-camera live experiments, scientific experiments, to demonstrate the interaction of consciousness with the physical world. So we start, for example, with remote viewing. We bring in, that's another thing I was saying, what I wanted to do in this film is show that anybody can do this. So I have different guests who come on, and we teach them how to do certain things. So we show them, we teach them how to do remote viewing. Then we do a live experiment on camera, and then that unfolds. And then we do experiments with pH, with DNA, telekinesis, and then with the blindfolds. So it's kind of, it builds from one live experiment to another to bring this whole picture of consciousness being fundamental, consciousness being the what triggers, what starts the process of creation, and how understanding that you can literally affect the physical world, whether it's your physical body or the physical reality. So that's what the film is about. The trailer will show you these. We can just play it and people can.
Great. And thank you for sending it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
Because the energy is all around us, you can communicate with all types of different things.
Well, what we do here is collect intelligence against foreign threats using a parapsychology discipline called remote viewing. We essentially want to invite you to become a psychic spy.
We know our own CIA had been experimenting in psychic tests and abilities.
The Israelis had an interest in it and may still. We know for a fact that the Russians were involved in this. We know for a fact that the Chinese were and are probably still involved.
Something's happening that's bigger than us.
Oh my gosh, this is blowing my mind. Like, this is insane.
We are pieces of consciousness playing avatars in a virtual reality game called this physical world.
This is Captain Corey of the USS Red Recorder, leaving a message that may be detected in other universes.
The rain was tapping, and the windows and the wind was banging.
So we sort of come to this world, and I guess in our materialistic sense, we want to forget about vibrations. We just want to think of matter and stuff.
That's a whole unit. That's a large effect. The fact that you can change the acid-alkaline balance in water implies that you could change it in the body.
This is what this is about. Mind over matter.
There are so many enticing images in that film. The kids playing ping pong blindfolded.
Yes. Crazy, right?
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's just beautiful.
I mean,
it's like a glimpse into the future.
Yeah. You know, they play ping pong, they, you know, skateboard. I mean, you saw the skating, ride bikes. I mean, you try doing that, you know, for like few feet. And, you know, some people, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube. I just want to say that I have investigated this phenomenon myself. In fact, like I was saying, I'm doing a whole day conference next Saturday. So we're demonstrating live how it's possible. So there's different methodologies out there. Some of them have their eyes completely closed, taped, and there is the mask on top of that. Others use the mask, but their eyes are open. So it's like different methodologies, but they all get to the same conclusion that they're able to see everything completely blindfolded. And so I've investigated, like I said, this to make sure there's no cheating, and it worked. And even scientifically in the film, there are a couple scientists out of the University of Bari in Italy. They were looking into this phenomenon, and they literally were able to measure the amount of light that was inside the mask. And so they could see that it just went down to zero. There's zero light photon inside the mask. Well, the human brain doesn't see. Vision works with light. Light reflects on objects and then we can see. But if there is no light, technically you're not supposed to see. So how are these people seeing? You know, so this is, to me, by the time we got to this, it was like insane. The validation that your consciousness can literally reprogram your brain to do things technically it wasn't supposed to do, to the point of seeing without your eyes. I mean, we're talking crazy stuff here. And so this works with blind people. This works with, let me just clarify, not all blind people, it depends. Sometimes blind people who are from birth are different than people who lose their sight from an accident and things like that. So it has so many different applications. Also, you can improve your brain functioning in so many ways. It helps with autism, ADHD. Some people heal stuff spontaneously as they're doing the training. So, you know, now we're tapping into things that we thought technically are impossible. And this is real. Like I said, I mean, it's scientists are testing it. I've done it myself. I taught it. So we have the class on the website. I have to say that kids learn very quickly, you know, like, I mean, from we did the online class, the first session, kids could see the color. And then they could read from the second one or a third one. Adults, it took a little longer, it took much longer, but I have adults who can do the whole thing. They can see totally clearly. They can see everything. And so, like I said, that's why we're going to do a live demonstration online next Saturday, so people can see for themselves that, you know, their eyes are shut, it's taped. Yeah, this is it. And people can get the link also from the same website if they go to calendar. If you go to calendar, you will find this this link,
Okay.
and you can join, and you'll see for yourself how these people are, you know, how they tape their eyes. There's nothing coming in whatsoever, and they're able to do all of this.
Wow. And that's okay. So that's next Saturday,
Next
10 o'clock
Saturday.
Pacific time. It's
Mhm.
only $75, and it's a full
whole
all-day
day.
pass, lectures, panels, VIP training, and a free recorded course from you.
Yeah, exactly. The first course of the blindfold training is $85, just that one. So they'll get it for free. But look who we have. We have Tom Campbell, we have Dean Radin, we have another neuroscientist who are on the panel. So you know, discussing this, how can the brain do this? What else can we do with the brain? What part of the brain is doing something like this? And so this is fascinating. We're talking, this is no longer, yeah, the mind creates, yeah, think positive, and you know, you manifest positive things. Now we're talking some serious validation of how, you know, your consciousness can literally reprogram your brain to do whatever you want it to do.
Wow. So just looking at the whole schedule, it is, you've got a lot going on. So there's live demonstrations, panel discussions, lectures, and then for the people who get the VIP course, the first part of the event ends at 5 o'clock, but then you've got a VIP training that's going to go after that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really, and so the idea of this, Scott, because people will say, well, I can see with my eyes, why do I need to make myself see? That's not the point. The point is not for you to start, you know, it's not a trick. I mean, this is training. Same with telekinesis. We teach people how to move objects. So it's not about, oh, I can bend a spoon and I can move an object. You know, the point is the training. As you are going through the training, you figure out where's my consciousness focus? How can I make it focus this way? How can I make it do this? The mind chatter that comes in, the belief systems, the stuff that comes up, the triggers, you know, all of this is training, is mastery. So that's what you're doing. You're mastering your human mind. And so that's why I really love this movie. I really encourage everybody to see it, but to try the training, whether it's to see with the blindfolds or at least to see, to witness and experience what your consciousness needs to do to totally have control over your brain and therefore your physicality.
You know, I feel humbled because I don't know how to do these things. So it's like, I need to take your training. But there is one thing that I do kind of do that's a little practical part of this. And that is, I don't like waking up to an alarm clock. Waking up to a bell or a sound is not how I want to do it. And so I'll decide, okay, I want to wake up at 7:30. And I'd say 90 to 95% of the time, I will wake up, and when I first look at the clock, it's 7:30, right? Or whatever, you know, time I set. And it's almost as though there is my higher self or some out-of-body part of myself watching that comes in and says, okay, Scott, now's the time. So I would say that the only thing I can imagine that I've done that's kind of similar to what you're describing is my internal alarm clock, not needing to wake up to an external one. But beyond that, I have not learned how to move objects, and I would love to learn how to do that. I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Levitation.
Yeah.
Have you seen people levitate? Can you levitate? What's the story on levitation? And how come, if it does happen a lot, there's not more videos of it, or it's not more frequently observed?
So I have, in fact, levitation is going to be explored in my next film. But I want to say just real quick, yeah, okay. Uh, so, um, so I'm going to explore this in the next film. And what happened for me, you asked me if I can personally do that. I actually did that spontaneously one time, actually a few times. And but I didn't know, like I didn't mean to. So I was actually in a class. Everybody had their eyes closed, thank God, because it just happened and it took me by surprise. And I never actually investigated like how I did it exactly. So to answer your question, I didn't really pursue it as of today, but because it is in my next film, it's part of that. Then I'm going to investigate it further and see how this is possible. And can we do it on purpose? Can we do it consciously? But what's the point of that? Same thing, like it's all about mastery. So to be continued.
I've always had a very deep fantasy to levitate in this life. Learn how to do that. And of course, I'm sure like most of us have had so many flying dreams and really good ones, like ones where I really thought it was happening.
Yeah.
And so on some level, I guess it was. But that's always fascinated me. And I've wondered if in this lifetime, because one of the things I believe, and I'd be curious to hear what you say about this. I know we need to wrap up, but I've always perceived that certain things cannot happen in group consensus reality until there's enough of a group consensus that we're going to allow this to happen. And that's why I've always thought mass sightings of UFOs, levitation, significant miracles don't show up in group consensus reality because the group mindset isn't ready or doesn't have that agreement. It's almost like the prime directive if you're a Star Trek fan. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. So we did experiments where when we do telekinesis, trying to move an object, one person with one object. But then when we do a group, in fact, that's in one of the classes. Then when we did a group of people trying to move an object, I realized, because like I said, I can tap into how they're directing their intention, where they're stuck. So I could see that everybody was doing it differently. Like one person was saying, move, or whatever. The other person was saying, I was asking their higher self to move it. Other people were kind of, you know what I mean? So
yes.
So because of that, think about it. If you are the piece of paper, you're getting conflicting direction. You're like, wait, so which one is it? Like, do you want me to do this? Or, even though the final result is to move, but some people would say move and they would focus on it moving clockwise or counterclockwise. And the other person would say, well, move any way you want. You know what I mean? So as long as you move. So I 100% agree with you. When you are in a group, it has to be exactly not just the intention, but how. So, for example, another thing that actually a friend of mine did, but it's kind of similar. We did that also in a different way. But it was when there was a huge hurricane coming to Florida. And so they sat down and they started meditating, like, don't come to Florida, like, avoid Florida, avoid, so, and eventually, with the power of prayer and focus, the hurricane, it was coming straight to Florida. I mean, like there's no question it was going to avoid Florida. And then at the last second, it avoided Florida and it went straight to North Carolina. So therefore, you know what I mean? So the intention was, yes, avoid Florida, but you didn't say don't go destroy something else. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is just kind of a funny, not so funny example of how a group needs to be consistent, not just with the intention, but the way you're approaching the experiment.
Beautiful. That's really, really important. Gosh, there's so many. I've probably had 20 significant thoughts of either a question I was going to ask you or a story to share. And then, it's such rich material. And what you're providing is wonderful. So now you had mentioned that levitation is part of the next film.
Yeah.
But is there what's the primary subject line or the primary piece of the next film?
I can't talk about it yet because it's still kind of, it's not official. But it is connected to the UFO phenomenon. But it's always, the bottom line is to put it in the context of consciousness. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, thank you for everything that you're doing. It's just, I really appreciate your taking the time to come on, be on this show. Because it's Sacred Sunday, I'm going to kind of bring it back just into, I even noticed in the chat on one of the threads, somebody was getting into an argument.
Oh,
and
really? About what?
I haven't, because I've been tracking you, but I just noticed that two people are bickering about something.
Okay.
About what's real and what's not real. And let's not do that. We all have a right to our experience of life. And at this time where there's so much polarization, there's been so much political polarization, and obviously a lot of polarization about the pandemic. And now is the time that it's almost like humanity is being tested of, okay, are we going to stay in the old paradigm of right, wrong, good, bad? I'm closer to the truth than you are. I'm more spiritual than you are. I'm more advanced than you are. Let's not do any of that anymore, really. Almost everyone I talk to, whether they swallowed a blue pill or a red pill or a purple pill, we all want the same thing, which is to live in harmony and to be able to trust our leaders and to be able to trust each other and to enjoy life. And what gets in the way of that is when we get too locked into our belief systems. It's important to notice that the initials for belief systems are BS, right? So just remember that any belief system to some degree is BS. And you have a right to your belief system. It's beautiful. But let's not argue with another person about it. Let's not fight about it. But instead, let's be like those children playing ping pong with their blindfolds on, right? Let's be like children in wow, what an amazing series of experiences Caroline Corey has seen and observed and researched and documented to help us expand what's possible, to help us break out of the cage, to break out of the mindset. So I just want to encourage us all to notice, when do I have a belief that's getting in the way of something else that's possible, right? What are my patterns keeping me in the cage? Even though the cage door is open, when am I staying inside the cage? Because at least it's familiar. At least I know this. And I'm going to give one more example. Oftentimes, something hard will happen, and we lose a relationship through death or divorce or changes, or we lose a job, or we have something hard that happens. And it's kind of like life gives us a scratchy sweater to wear. And at any time, we actually can take that scratchy sweater off, but then it becomes very familiar. And so we keep the scratchy sweater on because it's familiar. And God, if I take it off, I'll be naked, or I'll be more bare, I'll be more vulnerable. What Caroline Corey is bringing, these wonderful new possibilities, these wonderful new ways that we can become superhuman, not in a hyperbole, I'm going to become superhuman so I can be better than you, but in raising our consciousness so we can all have this great experience with seeking, of raising our consciousness. Let's take off the scratchy sweaters. Let's notice when our belief systems are getting in the way, and let's embrace these beautiful new possibilities. So that's my Sunday sermon. Thank you for listening. Thank you everybody for watching. And Carolyn, thank you. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share?
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. You're awesome. What I love about you is you always bring it back to the heart and to the moment and to the individual, which is what this whole thing is about. So I really appreciate you, and I appreciate this time. And I just encourage everybody, just watch the movie. It's free. I mean, Amazon Prime or other places, it's $3, whatever. It is so worth it, because it's not just about you're validating everything you believe in, just like that. And it will bring that feeling of empowerment, and that you are probably looking for, others are looking for, to kind of give you that extra push to go to the next level of awareness. So I highly encourage people to look into it, and enjoy the journey.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Let's all be kind to each other. Let's all embrace each other's different ways of seeing life. And let's have a beautiful, beautiful day. God's blessings. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Carolyn.
Bye.